Hello, and welcome to what will be kind of a brief episode of Through the Pages, because I don't have a ton to say on this book. Thought about not doing a review, but honestly, it was a pretty interesting book, and I thought you might enjoy it if you're into some of the drug-related books I've posted about. So, this is Ecstasy, the story of MDMA by Bruce Eisner. So, what I liked about this book, and why I'm bringing it up here, it is older. And so there's so much happening with MDMA right now, and a lot of substances kind of in the same vein, but MDMA particularly has cleared phase 3 clinical trials, and even years ago we were like, this is happening, it's come to fruition still, it's making major progress. And what I liked about this book is that it was ahead of so much of the formal progress, I would say. Like, I mean, they were still doing it, not in like sketchy ways, but there's a lot of science in this that is before kind of I don't know, it's like it's not so exciting if it's all just generally understood, where this was kind of like the groundbreaking era of MDMA research. And some of the nuances of this that I really liked was that it would discuss not just MDMA, but MDA, MBDB, all the kind of variants before it seemed like, oh, MDMA is the one. Like, I would like to try all the variants. Like, you could do MDMA 80 times in your life, or do MDMA 50 times and 30 times doing other things. Like, I want the buffet. So, he really kind of got into the nuances in a therapeutic sense, and really did come at it from that slant. So he does have a scientific background and studied, not just this, but LSD, and has worked with a lot of people that at the time of this writing were big, years later are enormous in the field. So this is a book that if you are like me and getting a little library of drug-related books, this is worth picking up. I kind of saw it online and was like, that looks kind of corny. It looks like someone just like cobbled together a book about MDMA because it's a notable title and people like this guy will buy it. Not wholly wrong, but honestly there was a lot more in it than I kind of anticipated. And it's a pretty easy read too, but yeah, it references some other books too that I hadn't come to my attention before, some that he was clearly enamored with that I feel called to check out now too, and then others that it was like, oh, I've heard this reference now twice, this sounds pretty good. So it's also neat to hear people like Rick Doblin. I've got all the windows open, so the door just slammed. But hear people like Rick Doblin like discussed so thoughtfully decades ago, and now to see like decades later, like they're still in it and just making so much good happen. And you're just like, they've been relentless for decades. So I share this book as much in the hopes that you will pick it up and appreciate it as it is to just commemorate the work of the people encapsulated in this book, and to dispel biases and taboos and tell you that MDMA or ecstasy, whatever you want to call it, is not a bad thing. Molly, that can be bad. What I see Molly as is a random powder that you hope is MDMA. Most likely it's not. Back when concerts were a thing, you got a little cap, bags out, things are flying around, you're not really testing things. I get it, I've been there. But if you really want to discuss it, it's just like discussing a plant-based diet. I'm discussing a whole food plant-based diet. I'm not saying, well, what about, they're going to be deficient because of all the processed foods. Well, yeah, I'm not talking about vegan processed foods and the junk. I'm talking about the true thing. So same with this. This is a discussion of MDMA, the substance. And that is where it should be, along with the variants, but also it's saying like, not MDMA mixed with some other stuff, mostly MDMA. Like, if we're going to talk about it, have the very clear discussion. And he has that, and he was well before it was commonplace to do so. So props to Bruce Eisner, props to every person in this book, and props to anyone else helping to kind of break down these barriers. These substances in my lifetime will be far more accessible. And it's not to say the little book review on YouTube is gonna be the thing that does it, but it's all those conversations, just like we've seen with other things that have been stigmatized, where once you get to know someone who's been using it, or they're a part of it, or they're in that scene, it humanizes it. And it's, well, it's not that horrendous if all I've heard is a crazy news report on it, and then I heard one kind of calm and collected person say I've personally used it, and it's fine. Like, well, now it's a little harder to have those biases. So get educated, get vocal. MDMA, it's here to stay, and it's a joy. So this book, it brought in my joy of it without having to do it. That's a great thing. So yeah, I recommend that to you as well. Enjoy the book and enjoy some MDMA.